What is up, travelers? Today on the Thavorian Guys podcast, we have a very special edition where we are going to interview our very own Evan. Evan just recently competed in the Indianapolis Regionals for the Pokémon Championships, and he placed in top 5. Actually, I believe he was number 5. Evan, how are you today?
I am doing well.
First things first, congratulations. It was awesome seeing you on stream, repping the Incineroar t-shirt. That was very well played.
Of course.
My first question that I'm actually going to ask is, how was it competing at regionals, especially making it to day 2 and then making it to stream, knowing that at least I think the team that you originally had, you had changed it up, I think it was 2 weeks before, if I remember correctly?
About a week and a half before we completely changed teams. We preserved none of the same Pokemon from what we originally had. Obviously, like, competing is just, for me, a ton of fun. Like, I just love playing the game and, like, getting to, like, actually, like, sit down and just, like, be at an in-person event. Makes it all the more fun. Obviously, in this instance, Indianapolis Regional was had some hiccups throughout the event. We had the bathrooms broke down several times during the event. We had a round 4 in day 1 that lasted for about 3.5 hours because they had internet issues. But despite that, they did a very good job at, like, keeping us moving afterwards. So once they got their issues sorted out, the event went very smoothly. I obviously, like, I made day 2. I made top cut. I've day 2'd every event I've gone to, so it's like a little, like, that wasn't anything out of ordinary for me. But, like, also, like, making my first top cut was, like, really cool. And then also, like, my first time going on stream was very cool. It was a little nerve-wracking at the time because I was also one of 2 players undefeated, and I was going on stream against Wolf. So, like, that was, like, certainly a way to experience that for the first time.
Okay. So I'm looking at I believe this is the team. I see that we had Glimmora, Frostlass, Whimsicott, Corviknight, Garchomp, and Incineroar. You said that this was a completely separate team than what you had originally prepped. What led you to going to this team instead of the one that you guys were practicing on?
So the team that we were practicing with was, like, a proven archetype that was, like, pretty standard Charizard Y Sun stuff with, like, Zard Y, Mega Aerodactyl, King Gambit, Basculegion, Sylveon, and then we adapted for Como instead of Garchomp on the team. But, like, generally speaking, like, it was, like, a very, like, standardized archetype that we were playing. And the team was good, but we just weren't having fun playing the team. At the end of the day, if you're not having fun, what's the point, right? Like,
Exactly.
the point in traveling, like, for me, traveling to another country to compete if I'm using a team that I don't particularly enjoy playing, like, that's just not gonna play out very good, probably.
Yeah.
Like, when we were pivoting teams, we were like, okay, like, well, what do we want to use? Well, both myself and my building partner, John Luke, like, we both love Incineroar. So we were like, if we can try to use Incineroar in some capacity, like, that'd be great. We also both really were enjoying the combination of the Whimsicott Glimmora because it was, like, really solid into a lot of the common teams. So, like, and we just were having fun playing that because it was, like, so flexible. And then we were like, oh, well, like, we kind of want another thing to handle Charizard teams because they're so popular. So we were like, okay, well, like, Garchomp is just good. And we're like, oh, hey, like, sand teams could be, like, slightly annoying. So it's like, well, we have the option for Corviknight. And then Mega Frostlass, just, like, as a Mega that both of us really enjoy playing. It's just, like, I love clicking Blizzard. It's extremely fun. And, like, it is a Pokemon that could kind of go into both modes of the team where, like, it fits in the, like, Tailwind offense mode of the team, but also because the Aurora Veil option, it kind of fits for like the slowing the pace down with like Incineroar Corviknight style as well. So like it just like perfectly fit the balance between both modes of the team. And we were just we switched this team, like we put it together, and we were like, all right, this looks fun, let's play it. And both of us were just having a lot of fun. So we were just like, yep, let's just stick with this because we're actually enjoying playing this. Was basically the mentality.
Okay. Now, I'm looking at the team, and I mean, on the outside of the team, like not looking at EVs, it looks very, like each Pokemon looks, for the most part, very standard. I mean, I do see that you have the Fairy Feather on the Whimsicott, where normally you'd probably want something like the Focus Sash, but obviously the Fairy Feather was there because the Focus Sash is for the Glamora that you're running.
Yeah. So on these teams, because you're running not Mega Glamora, you really want the Focus Sash because like of how prevalent things like Basculegion and Garchomp are in the metagame. So you just want the Focus Sash for like being consistently able to trade effectively trade damage. Fairy Feather on the Whimsicott let us like pick up specific knockouts, and this is where like I'll get into the EV spread a little bit, because we were actually running a bold nature Whimsicott, which is the plus defense nature. So on the team sheets now, because it reveals our natures, a lot of people see the bold nature on the Whimsicott and expect it to not be doing a lot of damage, whereas the damage boost that the Fairy Feather gives us on the Moonblast is enough to supplement the fact that we're not running a lot of investment in special attack on Whimsicott, to where a Pokemon like Kingambit, which is very problematic for our team as a whole, drops to the combination of Moonblast from Whimsicott and Earth Power from the Glamora. And because Kingambit was like very common on like standard Sun teams, and it's very good into our team, a lot of teams would like lead the Kingambit, and you would just lead the Whimsicott Glamora, and you could just double the Kingambit safely turn one, and just remove like the biggest threat to Frostlass immediately, which like a really fun way of like mapping out that matchup, because that was like by far my most common matchup I played all weekend.
And luckily you guys had prepared for it, and that was probably the best way to go on that aspect. So moving on from the team, because I'm sure we'll go back to the team, you know, in a bit once we break down the different matches. I want to talk about how it is being on stream. Like, how do they go about, you know, setting that up, choosing the people? You know, is there any preparation beforehand, or is it just, nope, there's your seat, we put your replica team on the Switch, there you go?
So it is slightly different now that we're on Champions, because where during Scarlet and Violet era, they had the rental codes and they had Switches on stream for us to play. For Champions, they actually just hooked our Switches into a separate dock, which then just screen displayed onto the ones that were set up there. So we were actually playing with our trainer and our own Pokemon while we were on stream. They weren't a replica team, right? We were playing our actual Pokemon. But essentially the way like they kind of like sets up is like, obviously like when the round gets announced, like we get assigned our table, we go sit down at our table, and then some judges will come over and be like, we're picking out you guys for the stream match. Obviously they're almost always going up to like the single digit table numbers, like where like the best players are sitting kind of thing, and like grabbing people that are undefeated for the most part and putting them on stream. Now when they pull you from your table to go on stream, you're kind of going into a back curtain room. Like you're not going into like the pastor's lounge or anything, but you're kind of going into like a staff only section of the event,
like a green room of sorts.
Yeah, like they have like some computer stuff set up for like monitoring the streams and stuff and so on, and like that's where like the actual like footage for the live stream like flows through, so like you get to go back there. But then they have like a little locker for us to like just throw our stuff in. They take our Switch and team sheet and they take that over to the stream location ahead of time, and then they just come and get us when they're about ready to switch it over to the like live stream table. It was fun being on stream. Obviously there was, for me, because it was like my first time and then my second time being on stream at Indianapolis, there were definitely some like nerves of being like, yeah, like this is my first time being here. Like I'm being watched by a lot of people right now. And it didn't help that I was playing against Wolf.
Yeah, no, and I think I had said it on Twitter about right after your first on-stream appearance. You have definitely made it into the conversation now of prominent Pokemon players.
Yeah, like making top 8 at the first ever Pokemon Champions event is basically just like cementing my name in history for this game right now. But like once you actually get started like playing, for the most part, like you kind of just like tune out what's going on around you, because like you get so focused in on the game when you're actually playing. So like it's not like it's honestly not too distracting to be on stream, in my personal opinion. But like there was definitely just like the first time nerves of like being on stream for myself. But like over time, I'm sure like that won't be like as much of a thing for me. Like it's not like I mind being watched while I'm playing. It's just like something I hadn't experienced before, so it was like a little different. But like also the headphones that they have us put on when we're up there playing, extremely loud. Like we were wearing earplugs and then putting the headphones on, and you could still hear the crowd cheering.
Oh wow.
And the headphones themselves are like they're displaying like the game's music and stuff, and like our mics to each other, and like even with earplugs in, you're still like fully hearing everything. Like that's just how loud it is, and they just didn't turn it down for us at all.
So when you go on stream, now I know this has been an issue in the past for some like regionals or ICs, where there's somebody had been disqualified at one point for looking at the crowd during the match. With the data that not being shown like it was in the Scarlet and Violet era, is that still a rule that they have where like, hey, don't look towards the crowd or anything like that?
So they didn't specifically say like anything about like to not look at the crowd by any means. Like they were just like, be mindful of like any actions or anything that you're doing, because like you are being live streamed, so like don't do anything inappropriate, more or less. But like they didn't specify anything about like not looking out at the crowd or anything like that. So I think that was the instance of that happening back at Milwaukee Regional 2025 was a rare instance of a poor judgment call off of the staff of the event.
Okay.
More than like a standard like this is what happens when you look at the crowd. I think it was just like that was just like a very offhand situation that happened, and I don't expect it to be something that is a repeated issue.
Yeah, just because I understand where the ruling came from. I just didn't know if they had like mentioned anything like that to you because you were in front of the crowd.
Yeah, they didn't really specify like to not look or like gesture to the crowd at all. Like you'll see during my top 8 set, I believe it was, when I was playing Michael Zhang, when I won game 2, you can kind of see me like look out towards the crowd and throw a peace sign. That was me making eye contact with some of my friends that were in the crowd watching, and like there wasn't any consequence or anything for doing that, right? Like that's just it's the reality of it. Like I like, and it might have also been slightly different because it was a instance where the game had just finished, so we weren't actually playing in that moment. So like that might also be like why they don't care. But I feel like that's just like again kind of goes back to like perhaps a just poor judgment decision by a judge at the previous event when that happened.
Yeah.
More than like a standard flow for what to expect.
Now, I know there are some people in the server and probably, some of the people watching online that would probably scream in the comments if I didn't at least ask the question of how was it facing against Wolf? Like, he is, widely known as one of the best, if not the best player within this, community, within this scene. And how did you feel knowing that, man, my first stream match is against Wolf Click? Like, it is the the person, like the name.
It was exciting because it's like, yeah, like in a way, like my first time ever being on stream is against the best player in the world, and it is at the first ever Pokemon Champions event. So like that's just like a combination of like really exciting stuff. And it was also the fact of I knew like before round 10 was starting that it was going to be me versus Wolf. And it was basically just the whether or not they were actually going to pull us to go on stream or not. Because like there was like the slight bit of like question of whether they were or not, because Wolf was on the round 8 stream on day 1. So he was like the last stream match of the day before. So there was like a bit of question whether or not they were actually putting us on stream. But like obviously like they couldn't not show the 2 undefeated players playing against each other. Right. So it was like I knew I was playing Wolf well in advance of the round being announced. And then it was just like, okay, do they pull us on stream? Okay, they are. And like it was very fun. Like I got to just hang out with Wolf for like 10 minutes before the match started. It was very fun to just like sit and talk with him like a normal human being. But then like actually playing, obviously I didn't play as well as I think I could have, but also like it wasn't a very positive team matchup for me either by any means.
That was going to be my next question. Was out of all the teams that we saw, or at least the teams that you saw, which matchups were the toughest? Because I'm going to say this, I don't think anybody foresaw, Wolf bringing Steelix for for this tournament.
Yeah, I mean specifically for the like Wolf match, like the Steelix is like a non-issue for my team, because while it hits a good chunk of my team for very good damage, it gets completely walled out by the Corviknight, which is already pretty good in the Wolf team as it is. So I was like fairly confident that especially after game 1 when he showed he didn't bring the Steelix, I was fairly confident that he knew to just not bring the Steelix in the matchup. So like that wasn't really an issue, but like it's the fact that we didn't account for like Dragon Dance Tyranitar is like off kilter enough to where like I hadn't played against a single one with my like I played against Tyranitar but never a Dragon Dance one, so I was never able I was never concerned about it like setting up and like sweeping through me. I could just like in-Tim cycle it, not be concerned about that or anything.
Yeah.
Just like across the board, like normally Corviknight would be like so good in that matchup, but because he had like the super bulky Rotom Wah, it becomes a lot worse for me. Frostlass is hard to position in those kinds of games. So it's just like across the board was not a very good matchup. But then also Michael Zhang's team in top 8, because like keep in mind the only 2 sets I lost the whole weekend were my streamed matches.
Yeah.
Michael Zhang's team I actually think was probably a harder matchup for me than Wolf's team was, and I think I just didn't play as well as I could have against Wolf. But like Michael's team was actually just like really rough for me to go into, because like his whole team, like I really needed the tailwind against his team, but I didn't have a way to deny his tailwind. So like it was like really rough, and the fact that like my Frostlass couldn't one-shot his Frostlass because like he was running it like max HP with like I think a bit of defense and special defense investment, so like he was always living those shadow balls, like made it really rough for me because the rest of his team was just faster than my team, because like I had like a very middling speed tiers, like I wasn't playing like max speed on basically anything outside of Glamora. So like it just his whole team being faster than mine, and me not having a way to deny him his speed control, and the fact that my slower pace mode of the team doesn't play well into his team, because like he has Arcanine and Corviknight, which kind of like Ensign doesn't love to see because the mirror armor and then the head smashes, right? And obviously it's really good into Frostlass, but like your odds of you actually getting attack off, and then because of the snow defense boost, like you're not KOing Frostlass in one hit anyways. And I just didn't have a lot of ways to like readily deal with his team just because of the speed interactions specifically.
So I just posted a picture in the chat where it's your Frostlass versus Michael Zhang's Frostlass, and your Whimsicott had just gotten frozen in this I guess, in this interaction. Now, the casters had said that you probably would have more so preferred that the Whimsicott had gotten KO'd in that instance. Is that what the reaction we see on screen is for, or is it truly for the frozen?
It's truly for the frozen solid there. Game 1, we had already seen that my Whimsicott lived the blizzard. This turns out to be a damage roll that he just never got the high rolls on. So there was a chance for Whimsicott to get knocked out, but it wasn't like it was like a pretty even split on the damage rolls. So this was truly for like the frozen. Like I was like, dang, because like this was a game where like I have the speed control up and he doesn't at the moment. So me getting frozen was just like bad, but in a way it actually caused me to win the game because I was frozen, he didn't feel the need to extreme speed the Whimsicott, which then turned into I got the turn 1 thaw, which was extremely lucky, which let me just KO the Frostlass before it got to do anything else, which completely saved me the game because it meant that I didn't get either knockout there, which then I was able to like manipulate the board state because Arcanine was at Sash, so then it doesn't want to extreme speed the Glamora because of the spiky shield potential. So I was able to just like effectively position and then get my Corviknight in for the end game, which was still could have been bad. Like if I flinched on my Corviknight at the end off the Dark Pulse or Ironhead, like I lose. But in that specific instance, I was just like more like putting my head down there because of the freeze, because I had gotten frozen in game 1 as well on my Corviknight, and I was just like, this game is giving me a break.
Okay. So out of the 2 streamed matches that we saw, just because those are obviously the easiest resource to look at if somebody wants to watch your matches, which would you say was the harder of the 2 matchups? Like, which would you say was, I'll phrase it this way, on a battle level and like on a match to like, I guess, team to team level, which one was the hardest? And then on a more like a personal level, which one was like the hardest on I guess a personal or like emotional level would it be?
So from a team matchup perspective, I think my matchup into Michael was across the board worse. It doesn't seem horrible on paper, but just because of how we had our Pokemon trained and knowing that like my whole team is slower than his was basically just like I'm gonna have an incredibly rough time trying to play this match. Whereas like my match against Wolf, like, well, it still wasn't a good matchup for my team. I think just like the combination of I am 9 wins, 0 losses currently. I am now playing against the best player in the world. I'm on stream for the first time. Like there was definitely just like an element where I was like slightly off, where like I'm not playing as best as I could. Whereas against Michael, I feel I played well, and Michael just made the right plays and stuff. Like he just played better than me. Whereas against Wolf, I feel like I don't want to say like I feel like we were playing in a similar skill level at the time, but like Wolf just had safer plays where like he was really safe to just set up dragon dances in my face, which then like makes it look like it was like harder for me than it like should have been. But that's just because I gave the room to do what he needed to do and didn't like approach the matchup properly. But like again, it kind of came from like I just didn't have the ability to work out the matchup in real time, which is like a very skill to have when you're playing something unorthodox like what Wolf was playing.
Yeah, no, I will say that a lot of people, even in like the chats and even the casters themselves, where they had said they had heard the rumblings of Mega Steelix being in attendance, but then nobody realized was playing it until a few rounds later.
Yeah, so the cool thing was I believe I was actually one of the first people to learn that Wolf was running Mega Steelix. That was like outside of his friend group, because I had a match that was, I don't remember whether it was Swiss round 5 or 6, that I was sitting beside Wolf at the match tables and I saw his team and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So then I had to go start spreading around like Wolf's running Mega Steelix.
You were the one.
I started the exposure. But like again, like the Steelix is like I have him on that completely walls Steelix, so like that wasn't a concern for me. But it was, I really did not respect the Dragon Dance T-Tar on Team Preview enough. Was like a big thing for me, where like in anticipation for a rematch against Wolf later in the in Top Cut, we had developed a different game plan than what I had tried on stream, and we felt more confident in that game plan. But that was because we now had stream matches to try to gauge how Wolf had his Pokemon trained, so we knew kind of where roughly the damage ranges that our attacks would do. So we had a better idea of how to approach the matchup. Only for me to lose in top 8 and not get to play Wolf again anyways, but we had the approach, whereas against Michael's team, we were just we didn't know how to approach it because we knew his Arcanine was jolly, Scarf Hydreigon, his Frostlass was timid and not modest. His whole team was just fast, and we were this isn't good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That was actually gonna be my next question: is did you prepare, for that to be, or for the opponents that you ended up facing or were going to face?
Yeah, so it was kind of because you know exactly who you're playing in top 8, and then you have the bracket, so whose teams you'll potentially be playing in top 4 and then finals. You're able to kind of sit down, analyze their team sheet, and be okay, what game plans do I need to go in with? Unfortunately, against Michael specifically, he wasn't leading the things where we were expecting him to. We were kind of expecting him to lean more into the sand mode of his team rather than the Frostlass, which ended up being really bad for us because Frostlass just was able to consistently spread damage onto my team, and I just wasn't able to keep up because his team was faster and I had no way to deny his own Tailwind, right? So
yeah,
it was just well played by Michael. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of RNG within our games, so that was truly just Michael in a combination of he played a bit better than I did, and his team just had a pretty positive matchup into mine across the board.
Yeah,
it was rough. We didn't know how to approach it, even with the bit of time we had for prep. It was just couldn't figure it out in the half an hour that I had.
So I will ask, because a lot of the teams that you saw on stream, or a lot of the teams that you saw come out of the regionals, were running double megas. Do you think is there a mega that you would have liked to put on there just to have that option, or do you think it was fine with just having Mega Frostlass?
So specifically, our team I feel was fine just having Mega Frostlass. There's definitely a strength to having dual megas, but oftentimes your thing with dual megas is you want one of your megas to be a Pokemon that you can bring to matches without having to mega evolve it. And we struggled to find one that kind of fit the team as it is, with replacing something without skewing our matchups at all. We couldn't figure out a second mega to slot in that made sense. And I personally didn't feel that it was ever not needed, because there's some matchups where we just don't bring Frostlass anyways. And when you have Pokemon like the Incineroar, Glamora, Garchomp, Corviknight, quite often you don't feel lacking if you don't have a Mega, because the other Pokemon are all so strong already that it's kind of a lot of times you're just not really missing it, if that makes sense.
100%. 100%. So we do have one from Kieran. He is one of the mods over here at Thavorian Skies. He is also one of the mods over at the Pokésphere podcast. Definitely check them out when you get a chance. His question was this: how would you change Mightyena to make it competitively viable? I assume this question comes because you did have the Mightyena, I think it was a Sitting Cutie, with you on stream.
Yes, I did. So the thing is about Mightyena is inherently it has Mono Dark is fine typing. It's not amazing. You like to have 2 types if you can, but it already has Intimidate. It has a reasonably good move pool. What it's really lacking as of right now is just base stats. What Mightyena really just needs is a evolution. You don't really have to fundamentally change much about the Pokemon. It just needs a significant increase of base stats, because it has a base 420 base stat total or something. It's just incredibly lackluster.
Yeah.
But I do think it kind of fits that role of if you gave it an evolution, you would make it a offensive Pokemon that has Intimidate. So it'd be more akin to an Arcanine instead of Incineroar, right? Where like you're bringing out Intimidate has its utility, but like you have strong moves like Throat Chop or Crunch to do good damage. You have like support move options if you feel like you want those. Like it does feel like a very kind of Arcanine type Pokemon, just not as good of stats. So it really just stat increase is what it needs.
Yeah, I mean, it also benefits from the typing. Dark type, obviously, it's immune to Prankster, it's immune to Psychic. It does have bad matchups against Fighting, which you see a lot in VGC. But I think I agree with you. I think Mightyena getting a evolution probably would be best for it to actually make it competitively viable.
Yeah, and like I also just like think of it as like Mightyena and Linoon to me were always like equivalents to a degree, and then they gave Linoon a regional form with an additional evolution, but Mightyena has not gotten such treatment yet, so we will see if that ever happens.
Well, maybe I will draw one for the server. Why not? Okay, so second question. Oh, actually, I'll follow up this question with: is Mightyena your favorite Pokemon?
I don't say it's my favorite Pokemon, but it has like a sentimental value because it is like appearance wise very similar to one of my old dogs that has passed away. Kind of like a sentimental, like the appearance of it is just like had like a sentimental thing for it, which is why I take the plush with a good luck charm.
No, that is definitely me, with very similar to Houndoom, actually, the Houndour and Houndoom line. So I completely understand that. That's awesome, though. Okay, so this one is from VG Chris 6. He is one of the gym leaders over in the Thavorian Skies server, and he also is a streamer, so big shout out to Chris. His question is, it looks like you and a group were using the same team, and were all involved in the team building process. Can you go over the breakdown of individual involvement for this process, and what you personally look for when trying to build a team?
Yes, so for this, myself and two of my friends, John Luke VGC and my friend Eddie or Twarzard in my server, we all use the same team. Me and John Luke regularly team build together for events and stuff. Twar, he picked up our team about a week before the event. He was playing Charizard Y stuff as well beforehand, but just wasn't feeling as good about it as he wanted to, so he pivoted to what we were using. So like he wasn't really involved in the team building process at all. He just we had the team and then he just picked it up beforehand. But the actual team building process for this one specifically, it was largely John Luke that actually built the team. He kind of was updating me as he was figuring things out, and he was just bouncing ideas around. And then I kind of just helped finalize the team, verifying what the spreads were actually doing. We made a couple minor changes as we played a few games with it, just for specifically for speed stats and stuff. We just wanted specific interactions where our Incineroar is hitting 87 speed, which specifically lets us outspeed Adamant Sneasler or Modest Frostlass while we are in Tailwind. But importantly, it lets us underspeed minimum speed Mega Blastoise by 1 point. For those Rigoraph Blastoise Stricken teams, it would mean that you could always Parting Shot or get damage out into the Blastoise while they have before they could Water Spout. So that was a specific interaction that we looked for. But across the board, when we're looking at teams, this time I feel we were specifically just we were looking for things that were fun to play for us, but we're also good into the meta as well. Which obviously panned out for us. We were Corviknight is Corviknight and Glamora are extremely matchup Pokemon. If you don't have a check to these two Pokemon on your team and you see them, you are going to have an issue. Which I feel especially with the Glamora, I felt that came into play a lot over my course of my tournament run, because I played a lot of Charizard teams, and despite Charizard being significantly faster than Glamora, because a lot of them are running a lot of bulk to survive rock slides from Garchomp, way faster than the Modest Glamora. If you're max speed Modest Glamora, you're outspeeding a lot of the Charizards. So it just allows you to be in such a commanding board state position all the time, because you're just threatening so much damage into most Pokemon on the Charizard teams. But then like you have like your checks for common things, like your Garchomp and Corviknight are just like really good for like sand matchups. Corviknight's just really good for like any like heavy physical teams. Obviously, Incineroar is useful for helping us like set up Veil, set up Corviknight, stall out Trick Room turns. Like we like to make sure we have answers to like position around a lot of the common strategies. Whereas you kind of like see with the matches that I lost, were kind of unorthodox teams, which we didn't prep for. So like that was like an element of they had something that were like they weren't entirely off meta Pokemon, but like the specific combinations of said Pokemon were kind of like what we did, where like no one had been using those combinations of Pokemon leading up to the event, have a plan for approach into those matchups. But across the board, like we just like make sure we have answers for the common Pokemon, right? Like you want to make sure you have a way of removing Basculegion, King Gambit, Garchomp, things like that. Like you just want to make sure you have checks for those, and like as long as we're hitting those boxes, we're probably on the right track for a good team.
Okay. So you've obviously gone to a couple of regionals. Last time I was at a regionals or anything close to a regionals, I don't think they were even called regionals back then, was 2016. And they were not nearly as big as they are now. That I can say 100%. And you said you had started competing with Scarlet and Violet. I remember us talking about that.
Correct.
When was your first regionals, or your first, I guess, event that you like, live event that you went to, or not even live event, even a locals? But how does it differ from then to now? Like, what are the major differences that you have seen through the course of even just 3-4 years in computing?
Yeah. So for me, like I started playing VGC at the start of Scarlet and Violet. I didn't actually attend an in-person event until the 2025 season Toronto Regional, which was in December of 2024, was my first actual live like regional event. So there's not like a significant difference in between like from then till now. Like it's largely the same system. They've made a few like minor changes to like how like top cut works, because like they used to have like it was a hard cut at 16, and if you weren't in the top 16, even if you had the same win-loss record, it was just tough luck. Then they switched to the asymmetrical top cut system, where like if you were the bottom X number of players in the top cut, you had to play an extra round to get to the top 16, and then they would do it. They have since gone back to non-asymmetrical top cut, so it is just a hard cut at the 16 again, which at Indianapolis here was the first event that was actually an issue, because we had 3 players who were X and 2 that did not make top cut because of that system, which was like not a well-received fact, because it was always like, oh, like whoever is X and 2 is in top cut, was always like the way it's kind of supposed to be. But because the events have gotten so large in numbers, that's just not the case now. But overall, as like the actual like production of the events, like the streams, the system that they use for like recording your matches, like win losses and so on, is like the exact same from when I started to now. So like that's not really any different.
Yeah, no, I remember the days of closed team sheets. So I guess my question next would be, would you prefer closed team sheets, or do you actually enjoy the open team sheets?
So I personally actually really just enjoy open team sheet. I think closed team sheet has like its charm to like a team building aspect, because it lets you like get away with like cool tech options that people don't know about, and then like you win because of that. But I do think open team sheet is just a healthier way of playing the game, because it lets us truly express the actual like skill of game planning, because we have the information in front of us, with the exception of obviously like how the Pokemon are trained via their EVs or stat point distributions. But like overall, I think just like open team sheet lets the truly good players shine even more, versus getting you know, kind of best of, like, or not, I don't want to say best of one, just getting like close team sheet cheesed by something that like you absolutely would just not expect to see, and they just have like a random tech move on a Pokemon that never runs it, something like that. So I personally just think open team sheet is the far superior way of seriously playing the game.
I completely agree. Hayes did hit us with some questions, so we can finish up with Hayes' questions, and then I have a few more things that I want to ask and shout out. Hayes' first question, we kind of touched upon this, but I'll see if the way he asked it sparks anything new. What can you tell us about the backstage stuff between matches, especially when you get to the latter parts of the tournament? Do you receive instructions on where to be and when? Are there more people just towering over you when there are only a few tables playing? Do the competitors talk to each other casually, or is there a lot of tension between them?
Again, like we don't really like see like the backstage like lounge kind of area that they have. We just kind of are in like a little computer zone area for like the stream stuff where they have like lockers for stuff, and we just kind of like hang out there until we go over to the stream. The competitors, in my experience at least, like when I was back there with Wolf and then back there with Michael, we did just like very like after you kind of get like settled in, because like you're back there for like 10 minutes beforehand. After about the first minute or two, you kind of get settled in back there. Then you kind of just like, we started just like chatting away pretty normally. The staff that are back there, they'll chat with you too, because there's usually a few that are kind of just there to monitor the situation, like watch over the competitors.
Yeah.
Like that's like, it's like very just chill. Like we're not sitting there stressing. You just kind of like talk about your run, the tournament, like how long have you been competing, and so like just stuff like that, right? For people who haven't really met before, kind of thing. Like you just spend a few minutes and get to know each other beforehand, which was like cool. And when we went to Top Cut, we do get a like pager, because they're only doing one match at a time, obviously. So we'll get a pager that they'll like buzz us for when they want us to come over to the specific like curtain zone where they have us wait.
Oh, nice.
Again, so like we're not sitting there like having to like really pay attention. We just keep a buzzer in hand, and they buzz us for when it's time to come over, basically, which is like easy to get used to.
Yeah, no, that's such a good thing that they do. Okay, here's the second question. How did you deal with the very obvious fire type weakness on your team, especially when you face so many Charizard teams?
Yeah, so this is something that few YouTubers have actually talked about when they've looked at the team, is like you see like the Whimsicott, the Frostlass, the Corviknight that are all weak to fire. Especially in a Charizard Y metagame, it is like scary. But because we have the 3 resistances with Glamora, Incineroar, and Garchomp, and then you have 2 rock moves with the Power Gem and the Rock Slide, fairly well able to manage it. Like into the Charizard Y Sun teams, like for the most part, you're almost always leading like Whimsicott, Glamora with like Garchomp, and then like you'll preserve Frostlass for the end game, unless like you're in a awkward position in the mid game where like Frostlass is actually just like really good, so you just bring it out early. But a lot of the times you're just like taking a crucial KO turn 1 against those teams, to where you're basically forcing them to bring out the Charizard while they haven't removed your rock type attackers.
Yeah,
is basically how we handled it. So like the team on paper can look hard to play into Sun teams, but like in practice, I had that matchup down like so well that like I rarely even dropped a game to the Sun teams over the course of the weekend.
it's awesome. I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously you had no losses going into day 2, so
yeah, like I had day 1, I had 116 matches, obviously, and like 16 games, and I only dropped 3 games over the course of all of day 1, which was like insane. One of them was to a Sun team. I think 2 of them were actually to Sun teams, and then 1 was to a Rain team.
Okay.
So like, yeah, it was like iffy kind of stuff, but like I was always in like pretty positive positions. The rain team was actually the one that gave me the most difficulty, just because like King Gambit plus Archaludon can be kind of annoying with, especially if they have like Y-Guard on Pelipper to stop Blizzard. Like it becomes tricky to play around sometimes, but we manage, right? Like we do have answers for the stuff. It's just how do you get there?
Exactly. Okay. Hayes' third question. A Pokemon like Whimsicott is often difficult to get value out of without a focus sash. What are some tips you can give to maneuver around that when you can't afford that guaranteed survivability on it?
That is kind of hard because like we specifically have like enough bulk to be surviving specific, like the most common specific calcs that like you can easily try to EV to live. Like we see there that we're living the bulkier Timid Frostlass Blizzard pretty consistently. We always live Iron Head from Max Attack, Adamant King Gambit. So like you can EV well enough for a lot of the common attacks to where you're not really missing out on the focus sash, with the exception of like against like Charizard in the sun or something like that. Like you will go down to that obviously, but like that's also why like we're running the protect on the Whimsicott to allow us to position the Whimsicott as best we can to where like you're not missing out on the focus sash, right? Whereas like a lot of the times when you see the focus sash Whimsicotts or covert cloak Whimsicotts when that's in the game, quite a few of them just won't run protect at all, because a lot of times like for some of them it's like I want to click Tailwind and go down, right? Like whereas because we're running the Fairy Feather stuff, there's specific interactions where we want the Moonblast damage into targets, so we wanted to make sure that we were consistently living hits, which we were able to do with our EV spread obviously. So like it's kind of just game knowledge of knowing what your EV spread is doing to know what hits you're going to live and what ones you have to position around.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. So a lot of game knowledge. And then Hayes' final question, and I think this is actually a good question to end on, for at least for the questions portion. What tips can you give to the average players on what key aspects to consider when building a team from scratch?
When building a team from scratch, obviously the important thing to check is like obviously wanting to know like what your defensive type chart is looking like. There are resources that you can use for this, like there's certain team builders and stuff, like team builder sites that will have like a defensive type chart spread to show you like what your most common weaknesses are. That's obviously a very good tool to use. And then obviously like for us, we were looking weak to sun, like fire moves, so like obviously like we compensate that for the fact that we have 3 weaknesses by having our other 3 Pokemon being a resistance to fire moves. And then obviously just like wanting to have the understanding of what is popular in the metagame and making sure your team can handle the popular Pokemon like meta options of the metagame is like the key factors. And then obviously like type diversity is also just like good in general, but like that kind of just comes with the defensive type chart side of it as well. So like I feel like as long as like you're making sure you're not having too many glaring weaknesses in the type chart and you can handle the meta at the time, is generally just like your good baseline of like that's the boxes I need to check when I'm team building.
No, that's definitely awesome. I think that's all we have for questions. The closing stuff, I do want to say 100% super proud of you. Awesome that you made it to day 5. I mean, it's very well deserved. I do want to shout out, like you had said, Jean-Luc. He has, for the most part, been the team builder, at least on this particular team. And I'm definitely going to have a link to his YouTube channel in the description, because you got to shout out the guy. You got to send some people his way, especially we're building such an awesome team.
I mean, I know I shared it within the Discord, but he has a full team breakdown on his channel as well for anyone that's interested.
I did watch that. It was very interesting. I think my favorite part of it was the in between when you were running the Zard team and you were running the Frostlass team. The in between of trying to get Aerialate Pinsir to work was, I found that to be the most interesting.
Yeah, we're like, hey, this is a fun concept. And then we filled out the team, and then it was like, Frostlass is just better in this slot.
That concept or that like thought process is just absolutely amazing to watch. I will shout out the guys from Pokésphere. Gurin has he posted a question as well. Draco popped in. I don't think he realized that we were recording and then immediately left. So shout out to Draco. Shout out to VG Chris, and shout out to obviously Hayes. I'm sure he is going to have a bunch of editor comments and little speech bubbles that will be appearing all over this video when he edits it.
I'm sure.
That being said, if you guys would like to try battling Evan or try to come and hang out with us, like I said, we run the Thavorian Skies Discord server. We do stream weekly. We probably should get better about it, but we do post on YouTube, obviously. But we are currently running a Pokemon Gym League where you can take on our 8 gym leaders and earn 8 badges. The fun thing about our gym league is they are 2 types, not 1. And me and Evan can very much say all of these gym leaders earned their spots, whether it was through tournaments, making Master Ball rank in a given season back in Scarlet and Violet. None of these gym leaders just got the spot. So that is a huge benefit. We are planning on running a summer draft league as well. So definitely come check that out. No, Evan, great talking to you as always. I mean, I think I talk to you practically every day, but I think it was very nice to have this kind of conversation and be able to have this conversation because you performed so well. And like I said, very well deserved. Is there anything you want to add or shout out?
No, nothing in particular. I guess just like shout out to all of our guys in the community for the support while I was competing. It was great to see the Discord popping off when I had like 20 notifications in the Discord for me. I was just like, okay, I need to compete, but I love you guys.
No, it was, like I said, it was awesome. I mean, we grabbed screenshots, it was very fun having to see or being able to see you on stream. And I mean, I have some of the screenshots that are going to be going to Hayes to put in the video. I do have one where you are. So you were mid-wave. I'm assuming you were waving to like Jean-Luc in the audience.
I was waving out to my friends in the audience,
but the screenshot I grabbed, I lovingly dub Evan's Incineroar impression because it looks like you are growling. So
it's with the shirt I was wearing.
I know. But that being said, thank you guys for joining us. I've been Unseelie King. This has been Evan, and have a wonderful day.